We all want to make our children happy, but is there a risk of going overboard and becoming the P word? You know, a pushover. Gigi Schweikert is a parenting and early education expert and former director of the UN's Child Care Center here in New York. And we're so happy to have you on set with us today. Thanks, Gigi, for being here. So, is being a pushover parent really all that bad?
Well, it kind of is, but let me start with kind of defining what that pushover parent is. So I'm the working mommy of four, and often that pushover parent myself. So it's not so much that sometimes we're the pushover parent, is that are we always that pushover parent?
So how do we know if we are veering into that territory? What are some signs?
Tanya, that's a great question. So some of the signs of being a pushover parent is that the world is revolving around the child. The parent's letting the child take the lead, that the parent is actually doing many of the things that the child could and should be doing for themselves. And one of the very unsettling things that we see happening more and more is the parent is actually blaming others for the actions of the child or inaction and responsibilities such as the school, coaches, or even other friends.
So it's just not setting the child up to succeed in life, because we know that's just not the reality. That's not how the world works.
Absolutely. So what happens with the pushover parent is the child gets everything they want because the parent gives in. Life's not like that. The things that are really important to us, the things that we want, work, relationships, materialistic things, all of those things take great work, great effort, and a lot of tenacity.
So is it also a matter of remembering that you are the child's parent and not necessarily just their friend?
Absolutely. And one of the reasons that parents tend to be a pushover parent is because they do fall into that friend trap. A friend trap is one where your child is always happy, everything's great, you're loving to be together. But in a real parent, you admit you're the parent. Children like boundaries. And you also realize that when children, or any of us, are met with the word no, we get a little frustrated.
So we need schedules, we need boundaries. Kids respond well to that. What are some other tips? I mean, here's a scenario. You come home from work, you're tired, you come home and your child is watching TV when he should be doing your homework, and you say, turn off the TV, and they say no, or they whine and they give you lip. What do you do?
All right, so that's great. And that's one of the reasons, typically, and you hit it right on the head, of why we give in as parents, is because we're exhausted. Or we're guilty that they're not happy because we're not spending enough time, or we're working so much. So one of the things that we can do is be that parent, admit and expect that we're going to get frustration and anger from that child when we make a request, and do this practical tip that I love. First this, then this. First do your homework, then you can watch television. Right. First take one more bite, and then you can get down from the table. First this, then this. And that's a practical way for parents to be able to exert and to tell the children the things they want them to do.
So, because this is what happens to me all the time. Let's say you walk in on them and they're in the middle of a show which they weren't supposed to be watching. Do you instantly turn it off, or do you say, okay, you can finish the show and then you turn it off?
All right. Well, if they weren't supposed to be doing it in the first place, you have two ideas. The first one is to say, I realize that you're really not supposed to be doing this, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But finish the show, and then we'll have a conversation. Okay. So that way you give some conclusion to it, you realize that what has happened, and then you move on.
Great advice. Great advice. Of course, every age of a child has different challenges.
Absolutely.
Correct? The toddler, the preteen, the teenager. When you're dealing with teenagers, does it take a little bit more sort of finesse?
It takes a lot of finesse. That's why if you're the pushover parent now, you want to get better at it before they get older. You can always pick up a 2-year-old.
Yes.
I have 4 teenagers right now. You cannot pick up a 16-year-old. I've tried.
Right.
It's impossible to do.
How do you feel about offering choices? Is that helpful?
Choices are so important, Tanya. Everything we do in life is a choice. Where am I going to work? What am I going to do? Am I going to pay my rent? Am I going to pay my mortgage? What am I going to eat for lunch? So when we offer children choices, we're giving them the opportunity to practice little choices and laying the foundation for what it means to make big choices in the future.
And I can see that helps them feel like they had some autonomy in the decision-making process.
Absolutely. So I call this a non-choice within a choice, which I mean, we're going to take a bath. There's not a choice about that. So the question is, we're going to take a bath. Would you like to walk upstairs yourself, or would you like mommy to help you?
Right.
We're going to do homework. Would you like to do it in your room, or would you like to do it down here in the family room?
Fantastic advice, Gigi.
Thank you
so much for coming to talk to us.
Thank you for having me.